right, well, I'm going to go ahead and call the April 1st, April Fool's meeting of the Government Operations Committee to order. And hi, Rich. So we do have a change to the agenda, and we were just trying to figure that out. There's a memo from Jay Franklin in assessment, and Kathy was just asking him if there's a resolution that needs to go with that. Brittany just sent you all an email. I was unable to open it. It like was weird. So I don't know if somebody, we can add that on and then maybe somebody can share their screen and show that to us because I'm not even sure what it is. So we'll add that. Maybe we'll add that after the planning and sustainability report. So you have some time to figure it out. Okay, any comments from the public, Kathy?
No, Amanda, we don't.
There's no riveting things that people want to talk to us about today in government operations?
No one's requested to speak.
All right, let's look at the minutes from March 4th. Can I have somebody move those for approval? Rich moves. Can I get a Mike to second it? Mike Sigler seconds. Any questions or edits about the minutes? All right, let's go ahead and vote. Rich?
Yes.
Mike Lane?
Yes.
Mike Sigler?
Yes.
And I'm yes, so the minutes are approved. And let's go to, I believe Darby Kiley is here from Planning and Sustainability to talk to us about the 2020 county land inventory. Hi, Darby.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I am here on a once every 5-year interim to share the county the county-owned lands inventory. And so we do this every 5 years, and we work with administration, highway department, and assessment to prepare this inventory and make recommendations for any changes in land holdings. And so the document includes all the property changes in the last 5 years, and that includes additions, sales, any consolidations of properties. And then the body of the document goes into the description of the parcels included in the property, any historic, natural, or cultural resources on those properties. And so the main thing is to bring the recommendations to your attention of this document. And so those are on packet page 13. I'm not going to share screen or anything. You guys can grab those at your convenience. And so the one, Katie Borgella and I met with Jason, Jay Franklin, and Jeff Smith from Highway Department, and we talked about these. So these are recommendations from that staff group. One of the parcels is a very small sliver, about 1/10 of an acre, that was the access road area for the Hillview landfill. And that's still in county ownership, and it's been a recommendation to transfer that either to DOT or to an abutting landowner. So that's one. And then the second would be an addition of property, and the county risk manager is looking into this. So right now the county mental health building has a parking lot that's actually owned by the state, and we have an agreement on that parking lot usage. And so Jesse's looking into whether we should be buying it or just continuing the agreement with the state for use of that parking lot. So those are the two recommendations that come out of this in terms of changing any land holdings. We don't make recommendations of what's going on with any of the parcels. It's just, do we need to buy anything? Do we need to sell anything to clear up the ownerships? And just a couple other one small note is in past inventories, we did not have the cell towers listed. So we grouped those all together so that that's at least acknowledged, the ones that are on leased property. So that's just a kind of a change. If anyone went back and read their 2015 version of this, they would see that one change. So I can answer any questions, and we got other people here who can help with any answers on the recommendations.
Yeah, great. Thank you. I really appreciated the map and showing us exactly where things are, because I don't necessarily know where everything is in the county. So that's great. Does anyone have any questions or want to talk further about this? Mike Lane?
Hi, Darby. Thank you for this. So the issue about how we're using the forest lands is where at this point? Is that in the planning committee, or don't you know?
That is, as far as I know, in peak right now.
Okay. And I'm trying to remember the ownership of the flood control project in Dryden. Is that owned by the three entities, or is that owned just by the county, or how does that own?
No, that's owned by the village, the town, and the county. It's a joint ownership.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Thank you.
Great. Rich?
Yeah, I was just curious of the Harris B. Dates parcel. We had obviously gone through trying to de-accession that. Anything new? I can't even remember where we finally ended up with trying to sell that.
I'm just going to pass that over to maybe Katie to answer.
Sure. Yeah, there hasn't been any movement on that since 2017. That was the last time we had discussions. I think it was just recognized that it wasn't selling on the market when realtors tried to sell it. And there was significant opposition to any kind of development that the legislature wasn't particularly interested in taking on at the time. And so right now, there has been no activity regarding that parcel.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Martha?
Yeah, thanks, Amanda. I appreciate this list. Boy, it's a more extensive document than I remembered looking at 5 years ago. That I was going to ask about Harris Dates as well. And the document says, it's page 30, the county should review beneficial use, and if no longer needed for county use, the parcel should be deemed surplus and sold. And it's 25 acres. I know, Katie or Darby, do you remember how much of it is the wetlands?
I want to say 6 or 7 acres of it. It's my
Okay.
recollection.
But it's definitely a parcel where there's plenty of room to do something useful.
Yeah, I actually think it's only a couple acres of the wetlands. It's a very small portion. It looks like it kind of follows a stream channel or a depression on the southern part. But yeah, and that's more in the center. So in terms of the road frontage, there is a lot of space for any kind of development.
And we will be, Darby will be sharing the entire document with all legislators. It's just that it was over 100 pages. We didn't really want to take up your whole agenda packet with it.
Okay.
Thank you.
There was conversation about putting solar on that site. There was conversation about putting it together with the neighboring landowner to possibly put housing up there. I know there had been, and I remembered it. Yeah, Rosie, okay. All of it went nowhere. So, but maybe it's time to look at it again. And how would we go about that? What committee, and how do we do it?
I don't know if Jason might want to weigh in on this. I think it would be a legislature-driven discussion as to how you would like to direct staff to investigate.
I would agree. I think I guess it would come out of this committee. If the legislature want to have some discussion as to what they want to do with this property, if you want to surplus it, then, we would talk about how we would surplus property.
Yeah, I think the county should review beneficial use and then deem surplus. I think in the past it was the planning committee kind of reviewed it, or maybe both committees, but all right. So if I wanted to suggest, I guess, to Annie and to Amanda that be a topic to be picked up. That's up to those chairs, but it seems like this is a reasonable time to take a look at it again.
Yeah, Martha, we can talk more and talk to Annie as well.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you. All right, thanks very much. I mean, that's a meaningful chunk of land in one of our nodal development areas. It's definitely an area that we want to be densified and used. Do you happen to know how it's zoned?
I'd have
Okay,
to
we
check.
get-
I'll check with Town of Ithaca.
Okay. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, any other questions on this topic? Thank you for working on this, Darby and Katie, and just clarifying, there's nothing else you need. We're not voting on this. There's no resolution involved. We're just information. Okay.
Yep, correct.
And stay tuned for all the maps. It's actually much more exciting to view with all the maps in there.
Yeah, definitely. I love maps, so I look forward to seeing that. All right, great. Thank you both.
Thanks.
All right. So if Jay is there and wants to talk to us about the item that was just sent to us and give us a briefing on that.
Sorry about this. The extra week in March really threw me off. So I thought I had one more week to get this together, but this is our yearly resolution where we appoint 6 temporary hearing panel members so that my 3-person Board of Assessment Review can become 3 temporary hearing panels that can specialize, loosely specialize between different properties so that I can have 3 boards running on grievance day, which just, triples our capacity, reduces the time that we're there at the office so that we can hopefully leave by 8 p.m. and we're not there at 2:30 in the morning like we have been in some years. So this year is a little different. I had one person move out of the county. Jim Lane served for multiple years, so unfortunately we can't choose him. And then Bob Walpole was a last minute person who removed himself from consideration on this. Bob's been great. He's been 20 plus years on this board. So we hate to see both of them go, but in canvassing around, we were able to convince Kevin Cartmill from Movement Mortgage, who was with the trust company, to join in to serve on our commercial. And then in past practice, we've elevated Jim Lawrence from Newfield. Jim served on the local advisory boards in Newfield for many years. So that was kind of always our training ground to get individuals up to speed and on our Board of Assessment Review. So we propose to bring in Kevin and Jim to go with Josh Lauer, Mike Cannon, Judy Malice, and Dean Shea. Mike and Judy are 20 plus year people on this board. And Josh is probably 8 to 10, and Dean, I think this will be his 2nd year. So I can't say enough about our Board of Assessment Review. When other towns, their qualifications may be if you're able to breathe and you want to come to the meeting, that's about what their Board of Assessment Reviews are. Ours are, leading real estate professionals. It's just incredible what we're able to get here. But I also, this is a board that reviews the work of my office. So I'm always hesitant about proposing people into this. So we kind of just came who's been on it. We've moved people up. So that's kind of where we're at. So.
Okay, that sounds good. And I remember talking about this in the past. Thanks for clarifying who the people on it. Are other folks, have other people seen the resolution? Do we have a resolution?
I do, I can share that if you'd like.
Yeah, that would be great. And then people could just see it for a couple minutes and before we vote. So we know what we're voting on.
So hopefully everyone can see that.
Yeah, that looks good. All right, so I'll just give everybody a couple minutes and then I'll ask somebody to move it and second it.
I would move.
Okay, great. Seconded by one of the mics.
Sure.
All right, Mike Lane, seconds. Any questions or comments for Jay? And I can't see my, here, wait.
I have a question when you get to me.
Sure, go ahead, Mike.
Jay, I guess I didn't understand. Did Bob Walpole just retire from the board or what happened? It doesn't say in your memo.
Yeah, quite frankly, Bob's had some health issues.
All right, so he just decided not to stay on the.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. And on your memo, it would be helpful to me if you would indicate Jim Lane with his first name, since it's not me and he's not my relative, and they do get paid on these kind of things. So that would be helpful. You got Mr. Lane.
Oh, okay.
All right, any other questions? Thank you, Jay. You can probably take that down now. I don't see any other questions. All right, let's go ahead and vote. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
Mike Lane,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Mike Sigler,
Yes.
and I see Dan's name. I'm not sure if he's there. Are you there, Dan? All right, and I'm a yes. So maybe he's just listening for the moment. So that passes. All right, great. Anything else you want to tell us about, Jay, while you're here?
No, I'm good for now.
All right, thank you.
Can I ask about the local advisory boards? We didn't do them last year. I don't think we did them the year before, did we? I assume we're not going to do them again?
Correct. I believe last year we put that off for 3 years in order to come back.
Okay.
So, I mean, we just went through our informal assessment review hearings these last 2 weeks. It was very, very quiet. Were days when some of our appraisers didn't have any appointments, which for some of my new appraisers, I hope they don't think that's the norm. So this is another year where I don't think they would have been beneficial based upon the number of changes, but we'll see if the market keeps going. We may be very busy next year.
Thanks.
Okay, great. Let's move along. We have a couple of resolutions to talk about from administration. And the first one is renewal of Tompkins County Department of Motor Vehicles lease, ID 9990. Can somebody move that for me?
Sure.
Mike Lane, Rich, John seconds. And I see Lisa. Do you want to tell us about this?
Sure.
Or Jason, whoever.
I was just bringing it up. It's fairly straightforward. This is just the renewal of our lease with for motor vehicles. There's a clause allowing us, there's no rate increase for the first 3 years, and there's a clause for early termination if necessary.
Okay. Questions about this or comments from anyone? All right, seems easy enough. Let's go ahead and vote. Mike Lane,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Mike Sigler.
Yes.
And I'll call on Dan if he's there, but I don't think he's there. All right, and I'm yes, so that passes. Thank you. It's nice to have a simple one. All right, the next resolution is Chief Sustainability Officer Budget and Position Transfer, ID 10017. Can somebody move that, please? Mike Sigler, second by
Yep.
Mike Lane, thank you. And probably folks have talked about this in other committees, but if Jason or Lisa wants to say anything else about it.
Sure, this is just, we talked about it at peak, I believe already. It's shifting the position, which was initially thought of possibly being county administration. After having discussions with both Katie, Arel, Ruby, and Lisa, we felt that it was best situated in the Department of Planning and Sustainability, just because of its overlap and relation to sustainability measures and sustainability initiatives that the DPS takes on. So this is just shifting the budget from my budget to county administration budget to DPS's budget.
All right. And you either have or you're going to talk about it at Budget Committee as well?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Questions about this from anyone? Mike Lane?
Yes. Jason, where will this person be housed?
In DPS, they have an extra, they have a desk available, a spot available. When we did the GIS consolidation, it shifted a member from DPS into ITS, so there's an open spot for them.
Is it going to be in GPS, did you say?
No,
Or Department of Planning?
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, there was a spot that opened up.
Excuse me with the acronyms, sorry.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else with questions? Rich?
Yeah, I have no objection to this, but I'm curious, why is this coming to GO? It seems like it should be at peak and budget. But
Because it involves my budget, and county administration reports to GO.
Okay, thanks.
We have the trifecta of committees: peak, GO, budget, capital, personnel.
Yeah, this is certainly being reviewed.
Yeah.
A lot of review, and then we'll all get to vote on it again.
Yeah. Four times.
4 times. Okay. All right. I think we're good. Let's go ahead and vote. Mike Lane,
Yes.
Rich John,
Yes.
Nick Sigler,
Yes.
Dan Klein.
Yes.
He's there. And I vote yes. Again, I already voted yes at peak the other day. So that passes. Great. Thank you. All right. We haven't had any policies in a couple months, so this is very exciting to get Lisa here talking to us about policies again. Let's go ahead and move them, and then we can talk about them separately. So this is resolution to update the administrative policy manual, policy 03-20, adjustments and transfers affecting fringe benefits, policy 04-5, adjustments of fringe accruals, and policy 11-36, affirmative action. And this is ID 10039. And who would like to move that? Rich moves. Who would like to second that? Nobody wants to second it.
I'll do it.
I will second it.
Both of the mics will second it. All right, so Lisa and I see Ruby is here too. So the first one is adjustments and transfers affecting fringe benefits. So who wants to talk about this?
I'll start us off. And let's see. So the this policy, as you can see, I think the last time it was touched was 1988. So it was overdue. We incorporated the second policy mentioned, adjustment of fringe accruals, into this one and updated it just according to current practices, Fair Labor Standards Act, etc. So it's, it's more technical in nature, but it was very much reviewed by human resources staff, payroll, IT, to make sure that, this reflects reality.
Okay. Questions from committee members? I just had one question about, I don't know what a floating holiday is. I've never heard that before.
So many of our county employees, depending upon their bargaining unit, receive a floating holiday that it's basically equivalent to 1 day off that they can elect to take at any time of the year.
Okay, that makes sense. It sounds like a nice holiday.
Yeah.
Floating. Okay, other questions about this one? Seems pretty straightforward. I guess, Kathy, we should just vote on them when we've talked about all of them.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So then the second one is affirmative act, the adjustments and transfers affecting fringe benefits that you said was a part of this.
The one that we just spoke about, adjustments and transfers affecting fringe, now incorporates the second one mentioned, which is adjustment of fringe accruals. That one was just 1 page long, just a couple of paragraphs. So I'm recommending that short one be deleted.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. Okay, great. And then, the next one is the affirmative action one. And which looks like there's a new version that's very short and then many, many pages that were deleted.
Yes.
So, okay, why don't you tell us about that?
Sure. So, it was just much easier to read the clean version rather than to try to delete 70 some odd pages and find the new version within the track changes. So that was the reasoning behind that. This policy, the affirmative action policy, is one which I have been working on for the past 2+ years, kind of behind the scenes, because so for starters, the affirmative action policy 11-36 was passed in 1997 and hasn't been touched since then. It's in 2 parts. It's very long. And it incorporates many, many different components, and a lot of which has changed over the years. So instead of trying to revamp this policy all at once, what we have been doing are incorporating or creating new policies to cover the same ground. So for instance, we've updated the diversity and inclusion policy. We've created or updated a new sexual harassment prevention policy consistent with New York state law. A discrimination and harassment prevention policy also was created and consistent with state law. And then over the last year, we've done a reasonable accommodations policy and an equal opportunity employment policy, all of which are part of the affirmative action policy, the current one. And there's a lot more in there as well related to HIV and AIDS that's really outdated. So the recommendation here would be that we forego the previous policy parts 1 and 2. It can be archived if there is information in there that we want to refer to, but we move ahead with the very brief policy that is now before you that affirms the county's commitment to affirmative action and lists the ways in which we demonstrate that commitment. I also invited Ruby to attend this meeting because she was helpful and involved in drafting this new approach, and in her previous role has, experience around affirmative action policy and statements. If there are further questions.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Ruby, is there anything you want to add to what Lisa said?
Oh, Lisa does a pretty good job all on her own.
Great. All right, let's see if there's any questions or comments from anyone. Thoughts, concerns? Mike?
When will we see the new policies that we're dividing this into?
Oh, well, the committee has acted on all of these new policies over the last 2 or 3 years. So actually, when I say I've been working on it, the committee, we all have been working toward this, and you have seen them and passed them.
Okay, so what we're saying is that some of them, if not all of them, have already been adopted, and that we are simply eliminating the language in this policy where they already have been effective.
That's correct.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep. Yeah, and you said that we could archive the old one. I mean, it might be good to have it for reference if anybody wanted to see what people were thinking in 1997.
That's true. And it's true of all of the policies. When we say we are recommending them to be deleted, we have copies of them. So it's not like they're going away forever. We can refer to them.
All right. I don't see any other questions. So let's go ahead and vote. So that was the last one. So we can vote on all of them. Any other questions about any of the policies? All right, let's go ahead and vote on all of them together. Dan Klein, are you there?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Mike Lane?
Yes.
Mike Sigler?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So thank you very much, Lisa. You've done a lot with all of these.
You guys have to.
Rich, you have a question?
I did. Just once again, yes, thank you for all the work on these very tedious policies and grinding through it. It's great. How many more do we have? Are we on schedule?
We're pretty much on schedule. I mean, we keep going at it. I think we've got another 40 or so we've done. I think we're about halfway through.
Okay.
We keep adding new policies, so our denominator keeps changing a little bit, but we're doing well.
Okay. Well, we'll stay here. We'll be ready.
Great.
Mike Sigler?
I just wanted to ask, I mean, not to get into this too big right now, and I'm sure you're working on it, but with weed now being illegal, are we putting forward a whole set of policies on marijuana use for workplace and stuff like that?
I'm sure Jason and Lisa have been up all night working on that. I'm fairly sure.
Yeah, we had the munchies afterward. No, we did have we have a draft drug-free workplace policy, and we have we're holding that one aside because there are some there's some more policy language in some of our collective bargaining agreements that we want to make sure that that's in the process. So we want to make sure that that's consistent. And when we were working on that policy, it was a year or two ago, it was with the thought that legalization would be happening in New York State. So we'll have to take another look at that.
Mike, do you have more? You're muted, Mike.
Am I still muted? That's better. Have our insurance companies weighed in at all about, just because I'm just thinking for car insurance and things like if one of our people get in an accident, how do we prove that they were sober kind of idea? I didn't know if the insurance companies had weighed in at all.
Well, that's a good question.
CDLs are going to come into question too, because those are federally required qualifications that aren't going to change. So there's a lot of navigating left to figure out here. We have time to. I mean, so there's some nuances it brings about. But your point's well taken, Mike, about car insurance.
Yeah, I think there's a lot for everyone to figure out about this new law.
I don't think it's as tedious as the flag policy, but we'll definitely make that
Yeah,
work.
I mean, we only went over the flag policy, what, like 5-6 times? So, you know, anything's better than that. Mike Lane, did you have your hand up?
I did. Yeah, I think it's really important. I know this issue has come up with respect to drug-free workplace in some of our labor negotiations. And, you know, it's so very important. The change at the state law authorizing, you know, adult quote, recreational, unquote, use of illicit drugs certainly ought not to change our safety in the workplace as to, you know, drinking on the lunch hour or smoking pot on the lunch hour or something like that. We've got to maintain a high standard of quality of the professionalism of our employees. And I think we've got to be very, very careful about that. So I look forward to seeing whatever is coming forth on that.
Great, thanks, Mike. And Annie just noted in the chat that she'd be happy to go over the flag policy one more time. So she's the chair of Peak, so maybe it should go to Peak this time.
Is that a stab at me because I had to do that?
All right, thank you very much with all the policies. Oh, now Rich has his hand up. Rich?
I was just going to say, I went through this because at my former company, the laboratories in Colorado, had to adjust to legalization in that state. And it was an interesting problem, partly because you have to separate out that the available testing can determine presence in the body, but it's different between alcohol and marijuana, that marijuana can stay for like 30 to 60 days while alcohol goes away. And trying to determine under the influence really was the question. We took a bright line decision saying, we're running laboratories. You can't have it in your system and we're going to continue drug testing, but I'm not sure that's the right approach here. There's a lot to think about. We're going to have to really.
Phew, that's going to be a long debate.
Yeah, no, it will be.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, I look forward to those conversations. Great, thanks. Let's move on to another fun, long conversation. Hopefully it won't be too long today. The resolution amending the rules of the legislature, rules 8 through 18, ID 10038. Can somebody move that, please? Mike Sigler moves, Mike Lane seconds. And you will recall that we did talk through this at our last meeting. I think there was nothing controversial. We had no major issues. I think Rich even said, let's just go ahead and vote on it, but we didn't have the resolution. So I will just open it up. Are there any other changes that you want to see? Kathy is raising her hand.
Sorry.
That's okay. No, go.
It's packet page 107. Under agendas and minutes. I wasn't at the last government operations meeting. Line 16 says the clerk of the legislature shall prepare agendas for standing and special committees meetings and make them available electronically to the legislature and post it for the public at least 6 days prior to said meeting. That doesn't apply to special meetings or special committees. So I'd like to request that be removed and just, it only applies to standing committees.
Okay. I think we even had a question about that. I feel like
You did. Yeah.
Okay. So, so it would just say the clerk of the legislature shall prepare agendas for standing committee meetings.
Correct.
Is that friendly to the mics?
Well, as far as it goes, but we are saying that they prepare the agendas for the special committees. They just don't have to get them out as soon. Is that right?
Correct.
So how do we need to word that? And would we say the clerk of the legislature shall prepare agendas for standing and special committee meetings and make the agendas for standing committees available with 6 days?
Right. What if we take out and special committee meetings and then just add another sentence, the clerk of the legislature shall also prepare agendas for special committee meetings? Just
that works too.
Make it clean. Any objections to that? Does that make sense, Kathy?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
That's all right with me.
All right. Is that okay with you, Mike Sigler, as a friendly amendment? He's nodding.
It is. Yep.
All right. And you got that, Kathy?
Yes.
Do you have any other things that you saw that were?
Oh, that was the only one.
Anything that came up for you, Jonathan, in any of this?
No, it all looks, it's what we discussed last time, and I think it does what we said.
All right, awesome. Any last questions or comments before we vote on this? All right, let's vote. Mike Lane?
Yes.
Dan Klein?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Mike Sigler?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. And that is very exciting. So thank you. That's great. So that is the full extent of all the rules. We've gone through them. One more big thank you to Rich and Dan for having extra meetings last year and working through this, and for Kathy and Jonathan for answering all our questions. We did mention last time that we will need to go through all of our changes and make sure that it's in compliance with the county charter. And I understand that Jonathan's willing to work on that, and I think Dan is also willing to work on that. So that would be great. Just if we need to make any charter changes, we'll want to do that. And what we had said at the beginning was, let's wait till we're gone through and we can make one change of the charter if we need to. So I will look forward to Jonathan and Dan letting us know if there's any changes that we need to make.
And Amanda, I just add thank you to you. You sat in all those meetings with Dan and I, and you did a great job.
Thanks. Well, it was fun. You guys are easy to work with, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, it would be good if we can get from Kathy. I discussed this with Kathy before. Now that we've gone through it all, to get one version with all the changes so that Dan and I can go through that.
Yeah, that'd be great. And then Kathy, will you wait until that charter, any potential charter changes to like put it on the website or reprint the document, or will you go ahead and do that?
Following Tuesday night's legislature meeting and this being approved, we're updating the rules as the sections are adopted, and then we'll get copies printed and available as soon as possible and posted on the website.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We said, what, a year and a half ago that we were going to work on this, and we did it. So that's awesome. Thank you all. All right, let's just go to our regular reports. I don't really have anything to report other than I'm very happy that we got through the rules. Yeah, and we have kind of a short agenda this month, which is nice. I know everyone's been pretty busy. So, all right, moving on.
Amanda, can I just bring up something? I remember it being raised at the last meeting about possibly changing the meeting time for this committee.
Yes.
So I don't know where that stands.
Yeah, I can ask Jason, but also I guess we kind of thought we would have our new legislator by today, but they just sort of approved the election results yesterday, and they're still not officially certified. So when she comes on, we will need to ask her if this is still a good time. And then Jason, you said last month you had a conflict with another meeting.
That was changed. I asked them to change it. So it was changed to Tuesday afternoons, I believe. So it's no longer a conflict for this.
Okay, that's great. So I guess my hope would be that we would just keep this time. Right. And I think that would make life easier for everybody. Yeah. And that she can, adjust her schedule to her new job.
Okay.
Amanda?
Yeah, Mike.
Yes, I guess you're going to have a new member replacing me at the next meeting. That's fine. I do continue to be interested in some of the issues here, and I've asked that I continue to receive the agendas. Mm-hmm. So I will join you as a guest if I can from time to time. But what I'm really concerned about and wondering what your thinking as chair is about is beginning the search for the redistricting committee people. And I wondered what your thinking there is.
Yeah, well, it has been on my mind, and I feel like what I need to do is reach out to Leslyn and Jonathan and Jason and Greg Potter and, and have an initial meeting about where to go and how do we get this started. We do have some time, I think, because the results aren't coming back until the end of September. So we do have it hasn't felt urgent to me to get that going, but we do definitely want to get that going, this spring and summer, and make sure we know what we're doing and we can get the folks in line to do that. So thank you for the reminder, and I will.
If I could, but I'm hoping we could get started on it fairly soon. If you go to summer, I think this summer, a lot of people are going to be taking vacations and they're going to be away. It's always trouble finding folks and having interview time during the summer. So I'm concerned about that. I would also suggest that you include in this meeting Hank DeLay, who chaired this the last time. I personally, speaking for myself, would hope that he might consider chairing it again for us this time, and might apply to do that. But Hank has a world of experience here, and if you're going to have a group meeting, I would suggest meeting with him as well.
Okay, great. Thank you for that information. We'll definitely be getting on this sooner rather than later.
Great.
All right, Jason, do you have anything you want to report to us about today?
I gave a brief COVID update earlier at this morning's elected officials call. Other than just sharing, we continue to get a good amount of doses. We've got almost 2,800 this week, 100 doses of J&J for homebound and homeless population. So that's a positive. I think you all are aware right now that the age requirement was lowered to 30 plus effective March 30th and will be 16 plus next week, April 6th. So that will open up eligibility. We're working on translating the registry in multiple languages. So folks have comfort in being able to register in multiple languages. We're also working with CMC to ensure that there's translation material and translation signs and translation services available for folks. We're also working with the farm worker population and community members to be able to get those that want to be vaccinated. We're about at 40%. Today we'll go over the 40% mark for folks in the county that population that's had its first vaccination, which is good. There's a series of guidance changes that the governor announced but hasn't issued guidance on. So they apparently need to take a lesson from us on policy development because they're not very prompt at what they're doing. But the big one is the PK through 12. I think I've spoken to a few of you about that. We have not gotten guidance on it. There's no travel guidance, although it was announced, almost a month ago that there were things were going to change. So we'll continue to wait for those, and when we get them, we'll issue them out. That's kind of just a brief COVID. We just are going to be issuing extension of the FFCRA leave, which is the expanded family medical leave for dependent care. We're going to extend that till September 30th for the workforce. So we've issued some details on that. Aside from that, Lisa, Amy, Deanna, Dominic, and I are just wrapping up our 2021 work plan that we'll send out to the legislature for review in probably by next week.
All right, great. You've got a few things you're working on.
We do.
Any questions for Jason about these topics or anything else? All right, thank you very much for being here. Lisa, do you have anything else you want to tell us about?
Jason covered everything that I would have otherwise covered. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Jonathan?
Yeah, Jason covered everything.
Jason's very efficient. Drew? Anything from finance you want to tell us about?
No, I think Jason covered it all. Thanks.
Right, and Dominic is not here. Any updates from committee members on anything? Or do you want to just go with what Jason said? Mike Lane?
Yeah, no, Jason covered a lot, but the two things I wondered about proceeding for the process to eventually hire a new county attorney, since Jonathan has announced to us that he'll be leaving our employment at the end of the year for retirement. And I know personnel is involved with that as well, budget and personnel, but I would think that this committee ought to be involved. Here's another one that probably sooner rather than later we ought to get going, because we want somebody ready to go who will have a chance to work with Jonathan before Jonathan is gone. So I'm concerned about that. And I just wanted to mention that, yes, I'm without email, but I have ordered a new computer and I hope I'll have it any day.
Oh, geez, that's no good to have no computer.
I took it to the repair shop and they said it's had the big one, so.
Oh, geez. All right. Jonathan, you want to say something?
The chair of budget personnel said that she expected to begin to take it up at their next meeting, which I think is like the 15th. I forget the exact date. Just for information.
Yeah, and she sent an email to legislators last week that I have not had time to fully read, but I think she and I will definitely talk about process, and I know we'll definitely need HR department's help and guidance with that process. So
Thanks.
All right, anything else before this committee today? All right, thank you all for coming and participating. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Hey, there's Dan. We're adjourned. Thank you.